On this episode of Going for Pro, we're going to finish up this car. And I mean complete, running and driving. We got a long list, so let's get to it. And stay tuned. So the first couple things that we need to do to the car is to get all these lines actually screwed in properly. And I have a brake line that's not all the way in. So we're going to do that, and also I need to do this master or slave cylinder. I got a new one sitting right here, as you saw in the last video. So I'm going to go put this on, get everything tightened down, and then get it bled by my wife. She's going to help me bleed the brake booster and all the brakes, luckily, which is going to help me out a lot. And let's get that done. So we got one out of the two things accomplished during that, wild break. I was having issues trying to bleed my master cylinder for the clutch. Luckily, Miata has this weep hole. You're not really supposed to pressurize that weep hole right there. Well, I did. And I opened up the valve for the actual clutch, the slave cylinder. Because these lines were already dry and empty, I pressurized it, and it literally pushed all the fluid through there and through the lines and out the other side, which is awesome and what I needed. Again, you have to have the valve open, so I had my wife open up the valve, and it pushed all the liquid through, and it actually helped me out majorly. So we got that done. Now I just got an idea. We're about to do the same thing to the brakes. Let me go grab my wife. So it's been a long night, and sorry for just shutting you guys off and running away. Let me show you what I realized and I learned in just a couple seconds while I was talking to y'all. And it's going to be a big breakthrough if you have a Miata and you're trying to bleed the clutch or brakes, and it's been just sitting there for a while and it's really squishy. Let me show you what I did. So this can work for either or, but it's a little bit harder to do on the brakes than the clutch because you only have one way to bleed it. So it's kind of hard just to drip bleed it or a gravity drip or a gravity feed for the clutch or the brakes because, well, the brake lines are over the where the actual fluid is. So you're supposed to pump them and wait. But if your car's been sitting forever with no fluid in it and whatever, it's going to take a while. And all you need is an air compressor and a line and something to press the air through it or the fluid. So what you do is you get someone to press the brake pedal. So they press it and they hold it open. You get an air line or air hose, and you pop this open real quick, and let me show you. So there's the top right here, right? Let me get this kind of difficult. Hold on. So on the top, there's a hole. There's a seep hole to allow air to get through. You put a rag over around the seals, so it's already sealed up, and you pop one of the brakes open, the furthest one. And you put air through this while someone's pressing on the brakes, and you put air through it, and it pushes all the fluid to that brake line because you already popped that that seal open or that weep valve on that far brake. Similar to this one right here. You pop that open and you put air through it, and when you have enough air pressurized, it'll push the fluid through. So you stop after a little bit. I don't know how long, 5 seconds of pushing air, 5 to 10. You stop. They're still holding the brake open, and you go over there and close that valve. And then for that will send all the fluid through there and hopefully push out most of the air. Not all of it, but most of the air, where it'll make it quicker. Now for the slave cylinder, it's a lot quicker. As in, you're going to pressurize it while someone's pressing on the clutch all the way down, and you're going to press air through this valve right there, or that little hole. It's going to pressurize and push all the fluid through it real quick while that valve's open. Similar to the brakes, there's another one on there. I'm going to try to see if I can get it in the camera right there. So you're going to pop that thing open, and someone's going to press on the clutch. You're going to pop that thing open, and then go over here, put air to this line, make sure it doesn't have this back on it, or it can, because it has 3 holes, and you're going to pressurize it, and it's going to push all that fluid through there. So, and then you're going to stop again. You're going to close that valve that I just showed you over here. So close that valve right there in the center, and then they can release. And then you do your procedures of bleeding the brakes and whatnot as regular. There's multiple videos on how to bleed brakes. I'm not going to do that because, well, because YouTube's saturated with that stuff. So that's my theory on how I did it, and it made it work 10 times quicker, because I was sitting here, my buddy was like, just hold it for, forever, just let it naturally gravity feed. But gravity feed doesn't really work on the Miatas because the brake lines are so high. And, that is too. But I have now officially marked brake and clutch off the list on my Miata. So next, we're going to start doing all the lines, the hoses, and get everything connected so we can start doing that and having this car ready. Actually, I'm going to clear off all this stuff right here. We're going to end up putting the lights in, just so we can start with the wiring and seeing what we need to do with that, and try to hurry up and expedite this process. And plus, it'll get another thing marked off of my list. So as you can tell, I got the headlights in, or at least the headlight pop-up lights part. I got those in. Next, we're going to be working on trying to get these wiring in for it. So it's supposed to be wrapped around here somewhere along that lines, because it's supposed to go out a hole that's covered up now on both sides, which is awesome. But the difficult thing is trying to figure out how I'm going to put this wire back through. So if I had to step it, I would step down into it, which I should have bought, wasn't thinking. So next thing, I'm going to cut a bigger hole. I tried to drill it out, and you see I just made a bigger mess right there. So I'm going to cut a square out with that right there, and I'm going to cut a square out, and hopefully it turns out good. But either way, I'm going to make a bigger hole. You can always add metal to metal. You can take away plain metal and then add metal to it. So I ain't worried about it if you know how to weld. So I'm going to get to it. I'm going to make a bigger hole, and hopefully it turns out good, and I will show you the aftermath. So it's the next day. I worked on it all night dealing with this wiring. So I ended up getting everything connected, hooked up properly. And actually the car came out pretty good. Not the way I wanted to do it from the beginning, but I can always come back and fix this and do it later. But I got the wiring in on the car. It's kind of just thrown together in a sense, but it's something. I did try to turn the key over, and it turned everything over, but it didn't run properly, or it didn't run because I don't have any fuel and everything hooked up. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to put some oil in it, and then hook up the fuel lines and see if it'll even turn over. So I got all the fuel lines hooked up, got some oil in. I got everything loosely done. The fuel lines are not fully connected, but I'm going to try and see if it'll start. It will be amazing if it starts, just because, well, the wiring's kind of junk, and I did it quickly. So we're going to see. I'm going to put you guys up on the stand and try to start it. And also the map's not hooked up, so it's going to be in limp mode no matter what. But if it's in limp mode, that's fine, because the MAF will make it not go in limp mode, and I can still drive it once it's up and driving. So put you up on a stand, hopefully it'll start, and we'll see. Alright, test one, see if it'll start. as you just saw from that last clip, well, the car actually started, and it was running rough, but it ran. And that's the only thing that matters right now. I'm going to start it one more time, see if I can get a little bit of throttle in there, and see if it'll actually want to run. Again, it's on bad gaff. The MAF's not in there, and none of the dat or interior's really in. But we're going to try it one more time. Let's see if I can give it some gas. Again, a lot of the components are not hooked up that needs to get the car fully running. There's an O2 sensor that's not plugged in, just a couple other things, but it at least ran. And it ran a little bit, which is fine. And the starter ain't the best, obviously, but it'll start the car. So I'm going to finish hooking up these fuel lines perfectly, and then go from there, probably get the lights hooked up and everything else and start putting the car back together. So let's do that. So next I'm going to be doing to the car is getting the intake manifold hooked up with all the wiring also. The wiring needs to be in, and then also dealing with the wiring over there. And probably the headlights and everything else is going to be, you know, intact, and put everything where I need to go. So I'll probably put you guys on time lapse. This is something simple. You're just tucking wires, make sure they're not in the way when you shut the headlights or whatnot. So let's get to it. So I ended up doing all that. I had to turn the MAF upside down just so I could mount it and have a bracket on there. Have a bracket on there, it's pretty good. It's going to be held on by the coilover, which is fine. Putting a bolt, and plus there'll be another brace right there, so that one's gonna have a little strain on it, but it should be fine. Everything else bolted up. I even got hoses put on there so I can start adding coolant to this car. I realized also that I need to fix this wiring right here, as I said from the last clip. I kind of need to tuck this a little bit more, so it needs to go underneath, which shouldn't be that big of a problem. I'll just tuck it and deal with it then. In that last clip you saw that I got the wiring harness situated the way I needed to, and I also ended up, my wife, when I went to work, she managed to extend this wiring harness. She's been a great help. She extended also another one for if I ever wanted to put airbags back in the car. She wired that back up, so that's good. I'm going to end up tightening this down, get the coilovers in, so we're going to end up putting the brace in right now, after I get the wheels and tires that are supposed to be on the car on, and we're going to put trans oil into the trans the way I need to. So that's also another step that's going to be happening. So I'm going to go underneath the car, get that done, and then we're going to start putting wheels and tires on so we can get this car lowered and out of the way, and then it's working on the interior and the back of the trunk so I can have a running car. So let's get to that. We're almost at the final stages, so this is awesome. Let's get it. So I'm getting up under here to show you what was wrong. I'm trying to fill up this pan right here, or my transmission. As you can tell, we're underneath the car. There's the front, and here's the trans. Well, this bolt, if I can get to it, where is it at? Right there. Decided to strip out. I finally got my vice grips, and I had to get a pipe wrench to break it loose. It's now going. I've been working on this for probably about an hour and a half just to get it loose. But then I just now got loose, so gonna pop this loose, start filling it up, and then we'll start putting the car back together. About 10 minutes later, I got it out. As you can tell, this bolt's all tore up. Luckily, I have another one, another trans, so that's kind of like a parts trans for me. Then I'm going to throw it in there, but I luckily got this one out. As you can tell, it's all tore up, but it's out, and that's all that matters. So the next step that we're going to be doing is putting the car on the ground. I can't wait to see this. It's been a while. I'm going to tighten up all the bolts, but this car hasn't seen the ground in a while with the wheels I wanted on it and everything else, with it almost being completed. So let's get to that, and it's going to be amazing, a huge step in the direction. So it's been a while since I sat in the car with it being this low and all the just little customizations. So I'm gonna actually sit in it. I know it's been a while, but oh my goodness. How you doing, buddy? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's been a long while since this. Just a representation of how low it is. This is my dog right here, and he's the same height as my car. So, and I'm 6'1". So, it's about 3 inches from the floor. And I can't wait to drive her. This is amazing. So the Miata is finally on the ground. I did put my Megan Racing strut bar on the car, which is holding in the air filter plus this brace. I had to relocate it because it moved the air filter back a little bit. So mounted it up right there. Now a little bit more stiff. Gonna kind of suck because it's gonna damage the air filter, but it's gonna be fine. Now I'm test fitting the fenders to get those mounted up and making it look nice. The only problem is that it's gonna rub right there. So I already started making cuts just to make sure it's gonna look fine. Let me get this off, and it is. I'm just gonna end up cutting right there to right here, right before where that line is in the Miata. So I'm gonna cut that off. Gonna make a straight line. Gonna do it on both sides because, well, it's gonna rub on both sides. So gonna make that cut and then get back with y'all. As you can tell, I cut the fenders. It came out pretty good. Hopefully you guys can see. I'm at an awkward angle, but I cut it to where it's flat on both sides. So I got that. Ended up mounting the front bumper or the plastic. So if I do get a wreck, it will stop the car or somewhat stop the car. And plus this plastic thing. If you've ever seen someone have a divot right here in their front bumper, it's because they don't have this little plastic thing. It holds it up. So that's another key tip. If you have a divot right here, it's because you don't have that little cushion or whatever it is right there. It helps it push it up and make it, look flat. Next, we're going to be working on the interior. I want to get this finished, so all I have to do is mount up the front stuff and then drive it out of here. So the first major step is getting this. I have a piece of metal that sticks right here. So we're going to put that in, start getting all this back in the front. We need to cut the carpet. So I'm going to start working on that and give you guys updates when I feel it's necessary or I'm almost done with something. So I'm going to get to it, and hopefully this will go easier than what I planned. So it didn't go easier as I planned, but as you can tell, I do have that piece of metal back in with my speakers, and I got the speakers all hooked up with the subwoofer, but it's turning out pretty good, or better than what I thought. I got at least this back part all situated where now I can put the top back in here, and I got the trim on the car now, and then also I got door speakers in, which they took a while, but everything's working, which is awesome, even the subs, which I was worried about. So next is going to be the center console, and the boot that sits right there to cover it up, and just a bunch of other little stuff to get it all situated and almost finalized. I'm going to mainly finish up this interior, and then I'm going to put the top, and then my wife is going to help me out with the actual fenders because they don't have holes in it, and I need her to help me align it in a sense so I can get that done, and then zip tie the back bumper which I'll probably do before the fenders. But it's coming out pretty good. Just taking a while, but the Miata is almost done. So it's pretty windy out here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Well, the car got done and it is finished, as in I got it running and driving. I was in a rush that day to finish it up. The top went on pretty easy. It was just kind of difficult trying to get that actual top on, just because of the bar that I have right there, the roll cage, and the seats also, because this protrudes. I should have moved it in a little bit closer. As you can tell, I should have, so I could have actually put the seat all the way in. It is in, but it's just difficult, really difficult to do it. So that's in. I've been driving it for a while. The only issue that I've been having is that the radio's not working. But I'll probably fix that in the next video with a couple other things. So it came out good. I'm actually impressed that it came out running. I drove it for about 100 or 200 miles on the first drive, so I got it up and running. Happy with it. So sorry about that, guys. I didn't get the whole video. I just got in a rush, needed a car, and my wife was going to the airport, and that's my only running vehicle right now. So my Tahoe's still down. Gonna work on the transmission, trying to get that up and running. Just don't know how to do it yet. My buddy's gonna teach me later on. So that's gonna be it for this video. Sorry again, should have gave it all. It was pretty simple and easy. It was just bolting on parts. My wife helped me out. Next video, we're gonna work on that front bumper. There's a big, not crack, I want to call it, but there's a big gap in it where I didn't mount the fender right. So we're gonna go back, fix that, and make it look good. But it's kind of sad that I didn't record it, lost the camera. It was just, I was trying to get it done. Needed a car, and well, first thing to do was to get the Miata up and running, and you guys went on the back burner. So I apologize. It's just the way stuff went down. But I got a couple more videos I got planned out already. Sorry for, just not recording it all. So more videos to come. And again, thanks for watching. And remember, never give up. Peace.
What